And I would like to welcome all of you to this presentation of the second edition of the UNESCO Cup that basically establishes the continuity of our partnership with UNESCO, Organization of the United Nations, with whom we are particularly committed to raising funds for the social reintegration and introduction of soldier children that were sent to fight at a very early age in Mali and in the Central African Republic. As I told you, this is the second edition of this Cup, and we are very pleased this year to welcome our new opponent in this Cup, it is Boca Juniors. And today, Enzo Pagani will be presented, who is president of Boca Social, which is the program of social responsibility of the Boca Juniors club. And I would like also to welcome David Trezeguet, that today is taking officially his charge, his role as president of the Juventus Legends. And I would like to briefly tell you our partnership with UNESCO that basically started 1.5 years ago as a result of the relationship that we established with the UNESCO Center in Turin, and there is Professor Chiesa here, and I would like to thank her for her presence. And this is part of a bigger, wider program of social responsibility and sustainability that Juventus has been developing inside the club, and that in October also published the very first sustainable financial statement. Today's conference basically aims at presenting this initiative and also ask you for your support and help, because as this is a charity program, it will be extremely crucial and important for us to have here at the Juventus Stadium on June the 18th a lot of people that will be given the opportunity to see a lot of legends, a lot of champions that wore the T-shirts of both clubs. So there's great champions that won a lot of cups, the champions and the Libertadores. So certainly will be a great show at a very top level one that will be also take place. That will take place in the moment of the season where the competitive matches are over, and so we'll start the summer season. So for this reason, I would like to ask all of you for your help. Then later on, I will be calling on stage the people involved that will be sharing with you the details of the initiatives. But now I would like to show you the video introducing this press conference. Now I would like to ask Mr. Eric Feilt, Assistant Director General for External Relations, Public Information of UNESCO, to join me, Enzo Pagani, who is President of Boca Social, and David Trezeguet for the official beginning of the press conference. So I would like to give the floor immediately to Eric Feilt, Assistant Director General of UNESCO, who will be speaking about our partnership.
Buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to find all of you here 1 year later to present a new edition of the UNESCO Cup and talk about the first results that we have obtained so far.
To say that and to remind you that you know that generally speaking, UNESCO works to build peace and lay the foundations of sustainable development. And in that context, we believe that sports can play a very important role in this quest. And that's why we are so pleased with this wonderful partnership that we have created in very little time with Juventus. Sports unites people from all backgrounds. It creates in many ways what we could call a common playing field, overcoming social and cultural differences. But it is also a mirror for many social problems, such as the marginalization of different groups and also often ethnic and cultural discrimination. So that's why we have started this beautiful project together with Juventus. And this project really is a two-faced partnership. On the one hand, there is the project focusing on the reintegration into society of child soldiers in Africa. I'm going to talk about it very briefly in a minute, but you also know that there's another aspect to this partnership, and that's the preparation of an academic study focusing on discrimination and racism in football. We hope that this is a project that will help stakeholders at all levels, be it governments, clubs, obviously, athletes and coaches, to better understand the problem and fight it more efficiently. There's a lot of discussions in the media about the issue of discrimination and racism, but there appears never to have been a serious research on it. And thanks to the support of Juventus, we've been working over the last 6 months on this study that we are hoping to release probably at the beginning of the next season. This is a survey that promises to be groundbreaking. It will provide data and analysis focusing mostly on European and Latin American clubs. I will just tell you that it's now at the editing stage, and we'll meet again probably here or in Paris to release it. I hope you will all be with us. But on the two projects that we have developed over the last year, I think you have some information in the press kit before you, but to tell you just a little bit more. This project aims at supporting some of the most vulnerable and deprived population in Africa. The figures vary depending on the surveys you look at, but generally speaking, the UN estimates that around the world there's possibly up to 250,000 child soldiers, and this is why we have decided to focus on this specific issue together with our partners of Juventus, essentially to bring back these kids to a normal life. They deserve it just as any child does around the world. And this is a very good start that we're off to. We're hoping to build on this for the future. This is clearly not something that you do for 6 months, 1 year, and then abandon. You need to build on that. Generally speaking, the age group that we're focusing on is roughly 12 to 17 years old, even though in some cases it's a little bit younger or a little bit older. The most advanced of the two projects at this point in time is in the Central African Republic. It's dedicated to the social rehabilitation of children who have been affected by this crisis. I'm sure you saw the news this morning. Central Africa is again, unfortunately, in the news. It's a country which is suffering great instability, and any contribution is positive, especially for the most vulnerable. We are dealing and handling this project with many partners in the Central African Republic, including, of course, with the government. It is our office in Yaoundé which is overlooking the project. We have selected 100 former child soldiers to begin the implementation of this project, including 17 girls. I think it's often forgotten that it's not just boys who are affected by this phenomenon, but also young girls. The training sessions have begun a few weeks ago with our partner, the École des Métiers d'Art, EMA, in Bangui. We've had an initial 5-week session, which is helping us first and foremost to make sure that we have 100 children who are going to be able to follow through with the training we want to give them. So this includes psychosocial evaluation of these kids. Eventually, beyond the literacy classes, you just caught a glimpse of the and a photograph in the video before us of the classes that they will benefit from, so that they can learn simply to read and to write. But we're also hopeful that we can equip them with basic skills to work in the field of ironworks and welding, leatherworks, wood sculpting, basket weaving. Hopefully, again, basic skills that can help them with their social reintegration. So that's one project. The second project is in Mali. It's a bit unclear in Mali how many child soldiers there are. The figure of 1,000 young people under the age of 18 has been mentioned. Sometimes they have been enrolled by force or kidnapped by the militias. You may have seen, in fact, I think it was only a couple of days ago, there was an announcement there that 8 armed groups in Central Africa released a number of child soldiers. So this is something that is unfortunately still very, very much a reality in Mali and Central Africa. So our projects in this sense couldn't be more timely. The project in Mali is more difficult because of the unstable security situation, especially in the northern part of the country. The first phase of the project is, however, underway in Timbuktu and in Bamako. There again, we are working in close coordination with the government authorities. Of course, you understand that we have to do that. It's very important actually for us to build an understanding from the community and the community leaders before we start the implementation of these projects. So that's why it's sometimes a little bit slower than some would like in taking off. We're working with a TEMED, it's TEMEDT. It's a very well-known local association working specifically in the fields of peace and post-conflict. They've already done a lot of very important work in raising consciousness towards local communities on the need to reintegrate these child soldiers. So in Mali, we started out with a mapping, a discussion with the local communities. The next step is the kickoff of the training per se. And there again, we are going to go through with a number of stages in the implementation of this project where we will equip these young people with simple trades that will give them a chance for their future. I don't want to be too long, but in essence, I wanted to give you, and I owed you 1 year almost after launching this project, an update on these projects. Again, they need to be built up over the long term. That is why we're extremely pleased to be back here again, preparing for the second edition of the UNESCO Cup, which will first and foremost benefit young children in dire need. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. La parola subito
And now I would like to give the floor to Enzo Pagani, that I would like to welcome once again.
Muchas gracias. Buenos días a todos.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize, I can only speak Spanish, unfortunately. And first of all, I would like to thank the Juventus Club and obviously also UNESCO for the opportunity that they have given to Boca Juniors to participate in this UNESCO Cup. And this is really a great adventure that involves the Juventus legends and that the Juventus legends are bringing forward. And we have the opportunity this way to participate, and it's a great pleasure and honor for all of us. And first, I would like to stress this because when last year we heard in Argentina that this match between the Juventus legends and the Real Madrid legends Legends took place, we immediately thought that we wanted to be given the same opportunity. So we thought, we hoped that we could take part in such a cup. We thought that we could be up to expectations, and we immediately realized it was a very good idea. So I'm so happy and pleased that we're able to realize this. So for us, Boca, well, I could say that our club is particularly closely linked to Italy 110 years ago when it was created. And this year is our anniversary. Well, since then, we have always been based in the neighborhood in Argentina, which was founded by the Genoese migrants, so by the Italian people. And over the last 110 years, we've always been there, very integrated, and therefore this bond, this connection with Italy has been further strengthened, and this is the reason why we're so proud to be here today. I personally chair the Boca Social department of our club that, as far as Argentina is concerned, basically works in a very tangible way in the various cities. And briefly, just to sum up what we do, I can tell you that we have 15 different programs that are currently underway. And with these programs, we have reached 2,500 people, mainly children, youngsters and teenagers at different ages. And we also work with adults and also with the elderly as well. And therefore, when we heard about this idea, and we do understand and share the importance of such programs, because we are absolutely convinced that sport can be a truly valuable and crucial instrument in order to promote development and to create new opportunities for the vulnerable people, for those sectors of society that are weaker, and sports in general and football more specifically can be a very useful instrument in order to promote social equality, because at least for a short time everybody running after a ball, a football, can feel the same, equal, on the same level. And I would also like to say something about the protagonists that will be playing the match on June the 18th here in Turin, because for us it's really great source of pride, because basically these are our idols, our great legends like Trezeguet for Juventus, and Martin Palermo for Boca, just to mention a couple of them. And the fact that they keep on being involved with the different institutions and are fully committed to this type of charity programs is certainly a great result to help those that mainly need our support. And that's what we're all talking about. And that for this reason, we're particularly proud of these. And I would like to stress this also for all the people involved, for Trezeguet and for the whole Boca Junior club. And I would like to conclude by thanking the representative of UNESCO and to thank him for the great job that they've been doing in different parts of the world where people are particularly weak and in very difficult conditions. And in general, I would like to thank everyone. Certainly will be here on the 18th of June, and then we'll be waiting for you also in November in Buenos Aires in order to carry on with this project. And now the floor to David Trezeguet, who is coming back to a pitch that he knows, is very familiar with, and as he promised, is now president of Juventus Legends. Good morning. And first of all, I would like to thank you for being here today. As you know, today is a great source of pride for me to come back home, basically. Well, Juventus, for me, was a truly unique sport and experience, and also from a human point of view. And first of all, I would like to thank the whole club, because it gave me the opportunity to become president of the Juventus Legends, and this means that they have great trust in me, and for this reason my personal work together with my colleagues will be absolutely amazing and unique, because I do think that we can really promote valuable development, and I do think that together with my former colleagues and teammates will be up to expectations. As to sport, well, there are different reasons why we are here. The first, after 10 years spent at Juventus, when I stopped playing, of course, I just thought about all the experience I had up to that moment. And my story with Juventus was particularly important, with the positive and negative moments of success, with some more negative moments of delicate moments. And I'm so glad and proud that Juventus nowadays is really at the top. It's again a great winning team, and we are absolutely pleased also with the future results. So such an initiative was started by a great friend of mine, that is Gianluca Pessotto, and I really respect and pay tribute to him. I had the possibility to meet a lot of people when we went to Japan, and that was again a truly unique experience. I could find so many willing people that really wanted to grow together with my former teammates. But talking about the match on the 18th of June, as you know, we're going to meet one of the most important clubs in the world, because as you know, well, you know very well the kind of respect that I pay to Boca Juniors, but you know that my heart obviously goes in a different direction, but certainly they're great people. So as Enzo pointed out, in this case, having the opportunity to have great legends playing, legends that could really made the history of Boca Juniors, well, that will be a great challenge to all of us, and we can't wait. We're really eager to welcome this challenge. And we're also going to field very important legends and idols that really shaped the history of Juventus. And I'm so happy with this, because I had the opportunity to meet people that were idols for me, and nonetheless, these are all people that were extremely humble and willing to do their best, that really care about Juventus. And for me, as president of the Juventus Legends, is certainly a very important part. Well, talking about the social impact of such an initiative, I can tell you that both Juventus president, Mr. Agnelli, and the whole club have a very important relationship. When we started with a partnership with UNESCO, that is truly a very important adventure, both for them and for us. So we'll be fielded on in order to do our best while playing on the pitch, and we truly hope that the whole stadium will be full, will be sold out, because we truly hope that this match in the end will get the results, because we organize such an event for something very, very important. We know that at the moment in Africa they do need our support, and with this match we will try to give something to these people, to bring an added value to these people. So that's what we hope, and of course we also hope at the same time that you can further promote this important challenge, this important match involving these great clubs, Juventus and Boca Juniors.
Per quello vi aspettiamo.
So for this reason, we'll be waiting for
Per
you
quella partita speriamo che sia una festa.
to see the match. We hope it will be a great celebration. We have great fun, and we hope to be up to expectations because, as you can understand, time goes by for all of us, so our conditions have changed as well. But I would like to personally thank Enzo Pagani, who came here today in order to promote this match of the UNESCO Cup, and I would like to thank Boca Juniors that will be coming on the 18th of June at the stadium. And one personal thing I would like to share with you. Well, basically, as I told you before, it means going back home before my supporters, and especially in this wonderful stadium that I didn't have the opportunity to play in because actually I played in the old Delle Alpi Stadium. But for me, it will be a great pleasure. So I will be very proud and privileged to play on the pitch together with my former teammates. So thank you very much and see you soon.
Adesso
And now
abbiamo un po' di spazio.
we got some question time, if there are any. I know that you're very curious about things that probably are not linked with this initiative, but if you can at least want to start asking questions about this specific initiative, and then I think that all the three guests will be willing to answer also different questions about different issues.
Ciao, buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning.
Sono Massimiliano Rossi della Stampa.
Massimiliano Rossi, La Stampa. I would like to ask Mr. Fat if you can give us some practical examples about the projects. So what do you do? Do you train them? Do you teach them jobs? And thank you. And then David, I would like to ask you, as you've been traveling around the world, when you started playing at the beginning of your career, as far as discrimination and racism is concerned, do you think that we have improved? So are we in a better or worse position at the moment?
Thank you for this question. As I said, the first concern that we have is to make sure that the program is going to be accepted by the local communities. It was quite striking to us. I think it was in Bangui to see that when we announced the program, there were many more children who wanted to join than we could accept. And we had to make sure that the people in charge of the local community would be supportive and understand that what we wanted to do. It's also very important to us in both locations to work with government authorities, civil society organizations, and create, I would say, a partnership network to make sure that these programs will take off. It's not something that you can start from one day to the next immediately. Then, once you have identified the first group of children, as we have done it now in both locations, it's very important that we sort of make sure that all of the children who have been pre-selected will be able to continue. You can easily understand that many of the children who have been child soldiers have suffered a great psychological trauma. Some of them may be able to go through this cycle of training, some may not, for whatever reason. Then the basic premise for the program is to provide them with basic skills. Literacy is important in any society. Learning to read and write is what has to come first. And we want to equip these young boys and girls with these basic skills. So that's the first step. It can take a number of weeks and months, as you can easily imagine, depending on what they have been exposed to in the area, in this specific area. Then eventually we want, as I said earlier, to provide them with basic skills that will help them get a job, work, sometimes perhaps on their own, sometimes attached to a small shop, but be able to earn a living. That's the main goal, to reintegrate a normal social life. So in that sense, some of the skills that I've mentioned will be hopefully important for them in these societies. You may have traveled to Central Africa or Mali, basket weaving, for instance, may be able to help you earn a living. Ironworks or welding is another area that I have mentioned. Leatherworks is also one of the skills that we hope to provide these young boys and girls with, or wood sculpting and carving. So again, these are just a few examples. We are intending to travel to Central Africa and Mali at some stage to document this more specifically, and I hope that next time, and perhaps even during the game, we can show you in reality what these young people are learning. But we hope that it will make a true difference for them in terms of reintegration.
Quella domanda che hai fatto è vero che è molto
Well, as to
delicata.
your
Io penso
question,
che in
certainly
questo
very
momento la
delicate
cosa più
one. Well, I
importante
do
è che
think
si
that
sono
at the
visti dei
moment
miglioramenti.
we have witnessed some improvements, and if everyone is involved in this type of projects, well, that's a very good thing. And I think that Juventus is certainly particularly involved, so not only for the whole, for the club, but also for the football players themselves. So I can say that some improvements have been made, but there is always room for further improvement, so we must make progress, but this means that we must lay very solid foundations. But I do think nonetheless that we are heading in the right direction. But as I told you before, there is always room for improvement, and we must focus on that. But we are all aware of the fact that this can certainly be improved in the future and in the present as well.
Gracias, soy Daniel Martínez, corresponsal de ESPN aquí en Italia.
My name is Martinez. I'm responsible for SPN in Italy. And a question to Enzo and one to David. Enzo, so as an Argentinian, I know that in our country we do have some social needs, and the participation in this event and the fact that you are president of Boca Social probably means that South America, and in particular Argentina, might be more involved in some UNESCO programs in the future. And moreover, as you pointed out before, you got a red and white heart. Do you think that the fact that Boca will be taking part in this nice initiative will convey a particular message to Argentina and to the rest of the world, so the important message against racism, but in general also to overcome those barriers that very often arise between small teams because that can generate conflicts? Well, I agree with your statement. The fact is that Argentina, in particular, has a different social situation compared to Europe. For this reason, we as a club, as football clubs all over South America, feel the duty and obligation to work according to the social situation in our country. So that's why I outlined the projects that are underway in 2015. Because, for example, the Boca neighborhood certainly has a lot of social needs, and that's why we feel that it's absolutely important to work in that direction. And that's why we decided to create this specific department inside our club for the development of these programs that mainly aim at people, the most vulnerable ones and the most needy ones. And in some cases, the UNESCO needs are slightly different from the needs of our local communities in Argentina, but nonetheless, we can certainly evaluate and take into consideration the possibility of a collaboration, because I'm sure that UNESCO has got some representatives in Argentina Argentina. So I do think that we could start a collaboration. Anyway, over the last 10 years, we've been working, collaborating with UNICEF as well. So as you can see, some projects are already underway, but we might consider further collaborations and partners in the future too. As to the other question, I would like to say something too. Well, we as teams in Argentina and River in particular, that have been playing the super clásicos that we normally have in South America, and all these clubs are working hard not only to overcome these sporting barriers, because obviously these passions sometimes generate this type of barriers, but what these clubs have been doing is certainly it is to fight against violence and racism that spoils football. So Enzo has been extremely clear on this point. So in addition to the great passion and fanatism that obviously is present in football in South America and all over the world, and in Argentina in particular, we know that there are these three super classicals that people experience with great passion. It's also true, on the other hand, that we do need to make a separation. So on the one hand, we have passion, but on the other hand, we should use our intelligence and being aware of the fact that violence doesn't work, and that's why it's very important to be willing to be cooperative and to be helpful at social level. And these are truly fundamental issues for football in Argentina, but all over the world in more general terms. So in a short time I spent in Argentina, I tried to better understand the social and cultural context and the progress that had been made up to that point, but then I had to leave. But I do think that also in that case, also in Argentina, there is still room for improvement. The different clubs, especially the top ones, are now working hard in order to improve the situation. They've been extremely serious and committed to these type of issues. But, as I told you before, there is always room for improvement in the future. So, good morning, Timothy. La Repubblica would like to ask Enzo Pagani if between Juventus and Boca there is also a match for Tevez. Of course, we couldn't but ask such a question. So the president of Boca Juniors often speaks about the fact that Tevez will be coming back to Tevez. So recently he also said that they're very close to bring Carlo back to Argentina. So are you here because you want to bring Carlo back home? The Juventus supporters are a little frightened that you might take Carlo 1 year before the termination of his contract will expire in 2016. Well, it was a rather inevitable question, of course. Well, Carlos is the Boca Juniors idol, is still a great idol. Obviously, he's still working, he's still playing as a footballer, so it's quite obvious that his heart is still closely linked with Boca Juniors, just like all the people from Boca Juniors are closely linked to him. But yesterday in Buenos Aires, we confirmed that at the moment, Carlos has a contract with Juventus. That is binding for him until 2016, and for this reason, Boca, that is always very respectful of all the contracts that players have with the different clubs, and therefore there is no way for us to do something that might terminate this contract beforehand at an early stage. So then, when the contract expires and if Carlo is willing to come back and there is a mutual agreement on this to go back to Boca, of course we'll be welcoming him, because of course Boca, it's his home, and all the Boca supporters would like to see him playing back at Bombonera. But I'm pretty sure now that his head and heart are here in Turin, especially for next week match, and that's why I didn't want to meet him, because now he must be very concentrated and focused on the next Juventus match. And I just came here for this other initiative, for the UNESCO Cup, and so that's it by now. There are no other things to say about it, but of course I wish him to get great results on Tuesday, next Tuesday. As to the previous question, I would like to ask Claudio to make a proposal. So who is the referee for the match? So have you decided who the referee? Well, so what about Carlito Tevez? That it could be the referee. Well, I think he will be on holiday at that time, or maybe we'll be playing the Copa America. Well, I do wish him that at that time we will be playing the Copa America. But that could be a suggestion. That could be a way to connect the two clubs. Good morning, Filippo Cornacchia, Tuttosport. I would like to ask a question to Mr. Pagani and to Mr. Trezeguet. So on the 18th of June for the UNESCO Cup, so what do you expect from the... Well, I think he has already answered his question anyway. And Trezeguet would like to know from you, what about the sensations, the feelings of Juventus in the semi-final playing at Bernabeu next week? So what about your sensations, your feelings? What do you think about it? So how many chances do you think that Juventus will get to the final and to go until the end? And also for Messi, considering yesterday's match. I don't know if I have well understood your question, but certainly on the 18th of June, Carlos will be a Juventus player, because as I said before, his contract expires in 2016, and therefore during this period will be Juventus supporters, because Carlos plays here and is really particularly fond of Juventus at the moment. Well, as to your question, I'm particularly positive about the next leg of the semi-final, because in the first leg Juventus played really a wonderful match. So I'm really very hopeful also for the second leg. And when I came to Juventus and I could see this team play on the pitch, so apart from the different success, I immediately realized that it was a very united team with a very important history and background. And now, considering the current Juventus, I could see the Juventus where I started, that want to reach very important goals. So for this reason, I think that it will be up to expectations, and I wish to all the people involved, the supporters, the people working in the club, to reach the final. As to Barcelona, well, as you know what happened yesterday, and we're talking about the best players in the world. Messi once more demonstrated, he really proved that he comes from a different planet. But nonetheless, we are a bit quieter, and we'll be thinking about the away match, the second leg, in a very careful and accurate way. Certainly, we're extremely hard match to play. But I could see that the whole group, the whole squad is really united and confident. I'm really aware of their qualities and skills. They all want to do their best, and this can be applied to the whole club, of course, and we are so happy and pleased that it will be like that. Representative of the Swiss TV, a question to Mr. Trezeguet. So apart from Tevez and the champions, I think that this match has a different and more noble goal. So I would like to know if maybe it would be advisable to organize more matches like this, more initiatives, maybe to organize a small charity tournament throughout the year. And then as Switzerland is very rich of sponsors and banks, don't you think that maybe you might come to Switzerland with the Juventus legends and maybe organize such an initiative there, because now the chain of charity in Switzerland is particularly active? Well, we're certainly very willing to do it. And the developments and progress that have been made by Juventus legends are certainly very important. They will be important in the future too. So we are all extremely eager to better involve the whole world. So Juventus will be able to make this a step further in quality, and I think that the fact of going everywhere, of traveling around the world, because we certainly have a very important history and background to share with people around the world, because at least since I arrived here, I could find supporters all around the world, and all the time we travel, all our supporters all over the world are particularly happy to meet us, because all the time we travel, we bring with us our trophies and our history. And yes, Switzerland is one of the places where we have a lot of supporters, and in the future I hope we'll be able to organize similar initiatives and to start a partnership. I would like just to add that Juventus Legends has just played a match in Japan. Yes, that's right. It was really a unique experience. So I went to Fukuoka 2 months ago in order to meet the president of the club, to better know the city, and to show that we were particularly willing to collaborate. And then we went back with the team of the Juventus legends, and it was a wonderful, extraordinary match. Apart from the fact that, of course, it had charity, it was organized for charity reasons, and the whole stadium was full, it was sold out, everybody wearing the Juventus jersey. And so this means that Juventus, apart from its important history and background, well, the great amount of supporters all over the world play a fundamental role. And so our goal is to share our history wherever we go. So the first was in Fukuoka, and for me it was really an awesome experience, and I truly hope that in the future we'll be able to go back to Japan, because it's a country that has always welcomed us very well, and moreover the history is particularly linked with Juventus, and of course we can't forget that Juventus, the last 2 Intercontinental Cups were won in that country, so this is the reason why we're particularly close to Japan.
Buongiorno, Fabiana Della
Good
Valle,
morning.
Gazzetta dello Sport.
Fabiana Della Valle, Gazzetta dello Sport. I would like to ask a question to David. As we talked about Tevez, I would like to hear your judgment, your evaluation about his extraordinary season. And do you consider that it could be your heir here in the Juventus club? Well, I think that what Carlos is doing is really amazing, because now he's really integrated in Juventus, and maybe in other places he could not integrate so well, so he could clearly demonstrate it as a truly valuable key player. He has always demonstrated to be up to the club's expectations, and has got a very close relationship with all the supporters and the teammates, and I do think that he's doing very well, and he's certainly contributing to build the Juventus history. Well, comparisons are always different because Carlos has a completely different playing style compared to mine, but he's got that typical South American blood flowing in his veins, the Argentinian blood running in his veins that unite both of us. And I was very pleased because I could say he was very focused, very serene, and he really wants to give an important contribution to the Juventus history. And he always wants to play, he always wants to win. And this is certainly very important, not only for him, but for Juventus, of course, to have such a great champion playing for the club. So, considering what he has achieved so far, I have to say that it was absolutely extraordinary. But the good thing that he wants to do more, he wants to further improve in order to be able to rise the Champions Trophy that is so important to all of us. Last question to Mr. Eric Falt. So there is this project on racism and discrimination in football, and certainly a great amount of soldiers. I would like to know exactly 200,000 soldiers. Is it right? That's what you said. This is an incredible number. But these are the project on racism and discrimination. I would like to know something more about this because one of the worst diseases of our beloved sport here in Italy, but not only, of course, in South America, this is a very important issue. So discrimination and racism are absolutely a terrible problem. So what type of work have you been doing so far?
Thank you for the question. On the first question, yes, it is generally estimated that around the world, by the United Nations in general and all of its agencies, there are possibly up to 250,000 child soldiers, which is an extremely high number. So this is the project on the ground that we're focusing on in Mali and Central Africa. Separately, you're asking me about the report on racism and discrimination in football. I think we'll have to invite you for the next conference when we will launch this. We are reaching the editing stages of this report. We trust that it will provide groundbreaking information because, as I said earlier, and I must insist, this sort of information has never been studied by academics and people who are familiar with this subject. We think it's very important that not only there is anecdotal evidence relayed by the media and reactions, of course, by the media and by society, but that we be able to study this unfortunately global phenomenon and address it. And we're very grateful to Juventus for working with us on this, for supporting this project, because it is truly positioning Juventus as a leader in this field. And because I understand we're closing this press conference probably just now, and because it is directly related to the press conference and the UNESCO Cup on 18 June, I would also like, generally speaking, to congratulate the club for what it is doing. I would like to point out, in particular, to the publication of the first report on corporate social responsibility that Juventus issued last year. I'm sure that you've all seen it. It's very important for us to see that clubs invest in this. It sends I would say a very important signal that football clubs are not just about football. They have a role, they have a responsibility in society, and Juventus there again is clearly establishing itself as a leader, and this is something that we would like to see more football clubs do. To answer the last part of your question, UNESCO has been working in the field of football for a number of years. You may know that we are the UN agency which is tasked by the system to find ways to fight racism in sport in general. So we've been working with a number of institutions, and I would have to first mention the International Olympic Committee. We've been working with them for a number of years. In football, you may know also that UNESCO has been engaged for the last 4 years in a very successful partnership also with the Malaga Football Club. They have made a lot of efforts to promote this issue and fight it within the club. I hope I have answered your question. I think it's very important for all of us to understand and that in today's world we all have different but connected responsibilities, whether it is football clubs, governments, international organizations like ours, but together, when we work together, we can truly make a difference, we can create change. And that's what we're doing with this project. It's a modest start, but it is making a difference already for a couple of hundreds of young children in Africa. We hope that the report will issue later this year will also open the eyes of the football community to this very difficult topic which must be addressed. And I also look forward to being back here in the beautiful city of Torino on the 18th of June, hopefully after a victorious campaign in the Champions League. So good luck.
No, per ultimo vorrei fare
And
una chiamata, un appello.
last but not least, I would like to call all of you, well, from now, from today, the tickets are on sale, so I would like to call all the supporters and all the people to help us, because it's for a good initiative, so please, I would like to call all our supporters, all the people who would like to come to the stadium on the 18th of June to buy the tickets, because we want to sell them out, and we want to demonstrate with our way of playing that you can still enjoy. There will be great champions united on that occasion, and now we can leave the floor for the pictures.
Don't just cut this one.
Sono insieme, non puoi trasmettere solo 3 segreti con la maglia del Boca.